Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to break down a quick video. This video is from Tony Jeffries, and if you don't know, Tony Jeffries is an Olympic bronze medalist in boxing. The guy is definitely skilled and knows his stuff when it comes to boxing. He's got a great YouTube channel, so if you haven't been over there, I suggest you check it out. He's got some really killer content, and but you know, he's got this one video where he breaks down some self-defense tips, and I want to break this video down a little bit and see what we can get from it. Let's take a look.
If some big guy, maybe bigger than you, stronger than you, maybe littler than you, is starting a fight on you, and you turn and you walk away thinking, I'm the bigger man, I'm going to walk away, you can never turn your back and walk.
So here we see in this first video, he says you don't want to be the guy in a self-defense situation that, you know, tries to walk away from the self-defense situation and ends up turning his back and getting knocked out. And this one I absolutely agree on. There's nothing worse than, you know, you're trying to walk away, trying to be the bigger man, and at the end of the day you turn your back and somebody sucker punches you from the back, from the side. So it's all about knowing how to move, how to make angles, and keeping your focus on the threat or the threats in that situation. Angle off to the side, I can circle around, but I want to make sure I want to put myself to where I know my egress is, and then look to take that as my exit without taking my eyes off that danger. Right? So let's look at the next one.
If you are involved in it and it started the street fight, don't throw punches like this.
Right, so this next one, when he talks about in a self-defense situation, you know, coming in and throwing punches down the middle versus throwing big punches on the outside. And I think a lot of it comes down into kind of understanding your range, your timing, and your skill set. Of course, you know, if you have the skill set, it doesn't matter what punch you're going to throw. If you're good at boxing, if you're good at kickboxing, you're going to get results, right? You're going to be able to defend yourself with a much higher percentage, right, than somebody that doesn't have the time, doesn't have the speed, doesn't have the power element. But if we understand this, I actually agree in terms of, you know, you want to be mindful if you're throwing big looping punches that are going to come from left field, right, then, you know, don't do it, right? That's just going to give them reaction time to move back, to duck, to get in, close the distance. So my thought is on this, yeah, you want to be able to throw punches out of center, but let's change your perspective a little bit. So instead of thinking about, you know, being straight on with that person, then blitzing them down the middle, which is a tactic, I think a big, better idea is continue to work off center. If you're standing head on with somebody and you have all your weapons facing towards each other, right, that's not really like a fight that I want to be a part of, right? I'd rather angle off to the side, get to where, right, I'm a little bit more 60-40 or even 70-30 if they can ever get it. So now if I have to hit, I can maybe throw a straight punch still, or I can throw more of a hook, right, or more of a little overhand, and still get a good result because my angle, my positioning is superior to theirs, and it's allowed me to dictate the flow of the fight. And if we have to defend ourselves and hit first, it's more easy to do so from that position.
If I've got someone in front of me here that's pretty angry who wants to start a fight with me, I don't want to look elsewhere. If I turn away and look at this person here, boom, perfect time for this guy to whack a right hand in. And
this next one, Tony goes on to talk about not being distracted. So in a self-defense situation, if you've got a threat in front of you, he's mouthing off, of course your focus should be on him. But in Krav Maga, one of the things that we focus on is understanding there's more than one likely danger. He's got more than one danger he can present to you. He can punch, he can try to tackle you, he can try to attack you with a weapon, and he also may have friends, right? Or maybe people that have no stake in the fight, just want to get involved, which is very common. And you have to understand that people that have no stake in a fight will join in, right? Or buddies that are his are just waiting for that right moment to jump in and sucker punch you. So while he is correct on, you want to make sure that you don't take your focus off on the immediate threat, right? You also have to be able to scan the environment to see what other kind of potential dangers there are, right? If I notice a couple guys that were hanging with him earlier now they're not there, and he's kind of by himself, or maybe you only got one other person with him, well, there's some kind of disconnection there. Or if I notice a guy that keeps eyeing me as I'm having this conversation, using my peripheral vision, well, then now I know, okay, I might have another danger over here. I've got to be able to address this guy in a second if something goes south, right? So I think that's important. Yeah, you want to stay laser focused, right? But the reality is it doesn't happen. Nobody has laser focus. Plus, more than that, there is usually a secondary threat if we're talking about, you know, kind of ego-driven self-defense situation where somebody attacks you for some reason as you're on a night out with your friends. So remember, yeah, you want to be focused on that, but be scanning for that environment. It comes down to your training too, right? The more you can train that, right? If you're doing solid self-defense classes, if you're doing good Krav Maga classes, that should be something you develop where you work in that peripheral sense, so I don't have to take my eyes off the immediate danger to know what's in my environment.
I would always see someone curled up like this and the other guy throwing these lots of punches, or it might be like that. And the guy's here for a couple of reasons. One, you're going to damage your hand. And the other reason is you're going to get out of breath. You're going to get tired fast.
So his next one, he talks about not throwing random punches in a street fight. And, that makes sense too, especially if you have a partner or an opponent, especially if you have an opponent that's, got a good cover structure on. But I would say if I'm in a fight situation and my opponent's already started covering up, I need to start doing things where I'm changing levels. So if I'm trying to punch in the high line to the head, and they go to cover the head, now we need to start immediately attacking the body. This assumes in these situations that the fight's already gone, right? Or the fight's already happening. So understanding if it's already happening, I've got to have a flowing tactic. If I start throwing punches to defend myself, for me, I'm not comfortable backing away, resetting, right, and then coming back in. I'm either going to look to attack to the body, drop the hands, and then we come back up and attack the head, or I'm probably going to start to clinch, wrestle, take down, and then control it from there in a ground environment, right? And then maybe we get back to my feet if there are multiples and I'm not really comfortable staying in that moment in time. But, otherwise I agree with this, but I don't like the disengagement element. I'm going to stay in there. It's flowing from high to low to high until I get that target, until I get that moment in time.
Now, number 5, the thing that you shouldn't do is act scared, act afraid. Now, I get it. I understand that it's scary.
Right, so this next one is, he talks about acting scared or look, the reality is, if this is a fight situation, maybe there are multiple attackers, maybe there are weapons, you should be a little scared, right? You should be a little frightened, and it's hard not to show that unless you have training. This goes back into, it's one thing if you're a competition boxer, if you're a competition combat sport athlete like he is, but I think for a lot of people that have never done anything before, it's pretty much like asking them to go out there and pick up a Chevy Tahoe, right, without any kind of assistance. It's not going to happen. You can tell me to do it, they're just not going to be able to do it. So it goes back into, if you want to have composure under stress, you have to build your tolerance. Build your tolerance, you take boxing, you take kickboxing, Muay Thai, you do some wrestling, you do some judo, you do Krav Maga, you do whatever your contact sport is. You kind of get acclimated to that as you're training, and that'll increase your chances of being able to survive a situation without having to worry about maintaining your composure. So I think, I agree with this, but it comes back into you got to train. The only way to really be composed in that environment is you know what you're capable of and you know what you have to do. So let's move to the next one.
Knowing when to stop. If you're in a fight, and I don't recommend fighting, I don't want anyone to ever fight. Like I said, the bigger man will walk away or get out of there and calm the fight down. You don't want to fight, it's absolutely stupid. But if you're in a fight, you've got to know when to stop. If I hit someone, boom, and he's knocked out and he's done, that's it. The fight's over. Or if you hit someone and they're hurt and they're saying, all right, I'm done now, that's it, it's over.
And this last one, he talks about this will save your life. I think this is spot on. I've actually had another video on this not too long ago. I'll go ahead and post a link on this right here. It should pop up in a second. But basically, as we're talking about it, a lot of times in self-defense, if it turns to a situation where now, somebody was attacking me or threatening me, I defend myself, I hit them, they go down to the ground, and I keep hitting them or I keep following up with more attacks. Now, not only am I the aggressor, right? This person may face, serious bodily harm or death. That's a serious thing. That's a serious consideration, and not something that should be waved off. So under adrenaline, we do crazy things sometimes, especially if you don't have training and exposure to that kind of conflict and violence. But I don't want to start putting myself in a position where somebody is down and I continue to follow up with attacks. Now I'm going to probably face legal problems. Right? There's phones everywhere, there's cameras everywhere. It's not realistic to think that we can do this and not face that repercussion later on. Plus, there's also the moral and ethical values that you have to think about. how would you feel about this now the next morning, right? After things have cooled off, maybe after you sobered up and you hear about this person being in the hospital, right, with possible brain injury or other injuries that are pretty grievous over otherwise what's probably a small conflict. So, that said, if it's a serious situation and somebody attacks you trying to do you serious bodily harm, then yeah, I think that's a different circumstance. But for these more ego-driven things where it's not out with your buddies, a lot of this can be avoided. It's really not that important. But that's my thoughts on this. Hopefully, if you have any insights, have any experience with this, I'd love to hear what you think in the comments. Please leave a comment below and don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps with the YouTube algorithm. Until next time, thank you very much. Peace.